Everybody take a walk. So this is the path people actually take, is this back road? I saw this earlier. This little spot. Oh wow, some people just fucking booked it here. They heard it everywhere. That's funny. You can ask him about the you can ask her about the status, but she doesn't say like who's gonna win. I don't think there's an in-game way of checking without just trying to keep a list as I did. I'm gonna stand in the middle just because the audio is bad, even though it feels really weird to be standing here. But like, it has location-based audio and they get really quiet. We're missing the other guard. Man, some characters booked it here. And then the guard's just a walk. There he is. The other guard's not coming, so I think he's the last one. There's 6 dudes. Good, bad, good.
We have a quorate body of voters gathered here to elect the city's magistrate. The candidates are Sextus Sentius Imperiosus and late nominee Gallus Galerius Helver. Marcus Malleolus Gurges withdrew his candidacy earlier today. As agreed, we shall dispense with ballots and candidates will abstain from voting. Let's make this quick. As I say your name, call your vote. I'll start with you, Horatius.
Sentius, of course.
Georgius.
Galerius. He saved the life of my dear friend Fabia.
Dacius.
Sentius.
You fuck.
Virgil.
The man who put a stop to the threats I've been receiving. Galerius.
Ulpius.
Galerius, the man who saved my life.
Rufius.
The man who treated
You changed your mind?
Galerius.
Citizens, you have made your decision. Your new magistrate is Gallus Galerius Helver.
What?
It has been decided. Magistrate Galerius, would you like to make a brief address?
I just want to say, this isn't something I ever wanted. Now that you put your trust in me, I'm going to do everything I can not to let you down. I'll need some time to put together a list of the changes I want to make around here. But I promise you, there will be changes. My first order is that Dooley is to be freed. Horatius, release him from his cell immediately. Please. Wait, do I need to say please? I suppose not. That's it. You can all get on with your day. Nothing else to see here. Move along.
That's why you're such a great leader. You don't have to say please, but you do. Are we all going to the cell now? Okay, so he was incorrectly reporting who he was going to vote for when I talked to him. He does vote for Galerius, as I figured. So it was almost unanimous.
It gladdens my heart that Galerius set poor Dooley free. I will cherish this moment.
It hasn't happened yet, but okay. Decius surprised me, so the double surprise was good
won.
for me.
He deserved it.
Fortune smiles on you today, Julius. Magistrate Galerius here has ordered your release.
You're going to let me out of here?
I'm sorry it took so long, my friend. And it wouldn't have happened at all if it wasn't for a newcomer. So be sure to offer your thanks when you can.
I will. I will. Thank you, Galerius. I'm so happy.
I'd love to stay and chat, but I've got a lot of work ahead of me. Why don't you go to the baths, then tell Georgius I said you could have some new clothes. Then I want you to go home and rest. I'll speak with you soon, Dooley.
I was like, is somebody gonna open the fucking door? He just walked away. Alright, plaque. Yeah. Take. I think I already read this. Yeah. This will remind you why. Yeah, he showed it to me. It's like, this will remind you why you're incarcerated, and it's like, he can't read, sir.
Hello? I'm Dooley. Magistrate Galerius said I should thank the newcomer. Are you the newcomer?
Yep, that's me.
Oh, it is you. Then, thank you. You're a big helper. I was locked up, but they let me out again. I'm so happy.
You're welcome.
You can have my shiny plaque if you want, and maybe you can help me find my treasure. My friend Hannibal used to look after me, and he said he always would, but then he died. But before that, he told me if anything ever happened to him, I had to find something very precious.
What was it?
He gave me a key to the cisterns and told me to keep it safe. He said there's something very precious way up high. Please help me find it. Please. I had to keep it a secret until I found someone I could trust.
Alright, I'll help you.
Oh, thank you. Here's the key.
The upper cistern is below the Great Temple. The entry must be around there somewhere. So this is separate? No. Is this just the entrance that he uses to get to where his daughter is being kept?
I hope you find it. In the cisterns. Way up high, Hannibal said. Oh, look over there. Something shiny. Is it treasure? Maybe it is treasure. I could see it from
No,
myself.
you need to behave.
So pretty. And it's just lying out
The
there
mirror?
in the open. Maybe nobody wants it anymore. Maybe no one will mind if I
Is he gonna immediately get us all killed right now?
take it. Don't you dare.
Really?
Many shall suffer for the sins of the one.
Literally in seconds, he immediately... Come on, man. He survived somehow in this society before he was imprisoned, didn't he? I don't think he was immediately imprisoned. That's goofy as shit. Rip. Good thing I got the plaque. If you didn't grab the plaque in time, then you would just you would have to do the entire loop again. Granted, he just does everything at this point, so well, I guess we don't get to see him lead at all because there's a built-in thing where he loses them. We die right after he takes control.
Salve, friend.
Salve, friend. Take care of some things. Lily is dying. Tell Malleolus you know his real name is Quinctus. Thanks to Claudia, and that Nero sends his regards. Then tell him to withdraw from the election and release his debt bondsman.
What?
I just shouldn't have skipped that. Whoops. I need you to stop Fabi from entering the shrine, and then tell the other guy to go die there. And then Rufius needs aspirin. Bye. So even the part where he steps out of the election is going to happen automatically every loop now. Okay. That's that's the funniest part of the entire idea, is that he's going to confront the guy running for election and just like blackmail him to his face, and it'll apparently work.
Turns.
The amount of this guy has a real busy day. But I do like the fact that he ends up looking like he's doing all this stuff, which makes him the big candidate that everyone wants to vote for. Like, when I called that out, I was like happy that paid off, because it's like, yeah, like I'm doing everything, but from their perspective he's doing everything, so like it's gotta make him a pretty good candidate, right? And it do, as it turns out. Okay, so now I got a plaque, but maybe I'll talk to this guy just to check out his dialogue for accusing people and stuff, because I haven't been doing that. So does he still remember the time loop where I made him not the leader? I guess he does. Just does he care though? As long as he doesn't think that I know he thinks that, then I guess it doesn't matter.
We're finally alone.
I assume you already...
Yep. Yep. Alright. Doop-doo. Can we talk about who's going to break the rule?
Of course. What is it?
I've already figured out how to stop at least one person from breaking it. What happens now?
Well, if you stopped one person from breaking it and you're still here, then there must be someone else about to break it still. Allow me to explain. When I discovered the ritual to Proserpina, the instructions came with a warning about paradoxes. The crux of it is this. If you do anything to change the course of history in such a way that your very being here is impossible, you will have created a paradox. To illustrate, when the golden rule is broken, I will open the doorway that will bring you here to prevent it from being broken. If you manage to succeed in saving our lives, then I will have no reason to open the doorway, and you will never have come here. A paradox. You see? The same thing would happen if you, say, inadvertently, allowed me to die. If I can't summon you, then you can't be here, obviously. If either of those things were to happen, I am given to understand you would be flung back to your original time, having changed the course of history for us and yourself. So the fact that you are still here means someone is going to break the golden rule, and there is yet work to do. Understand?
I think so.
Excellent. So, it looks like you'll have to continue your investigation. Now, was there anything else you wanted to ask? Of course. What is it?
I think I know who it is.
Yes?
There's so many people. Oh my god. It's Dooley.
Why do you say that?
He broke the golden rule as soon as I had him released from his cell.
Why in Pluto's name would you do that?
He had something I wanted.
The man has no self-discipline, poor comprehension of what is going on around him, and is an incorrigible rule breaker. He's been trying to enlist help with this for months. If you don't help him, then he's not a threat. It looks like you'll have to continue your investigation. Now, was there anything else you wanted to ask? Of course. What is... Yeah.
Who is the archer? I know who these people are. I don't think OPS does do it. Domitus does.
Why do you say that?
Soliciting bribes and intimidating people? No, he fucking executes you and then the golden rule happens. He's been trying to intimidate people to vote for Malleolus.
So I'm told. This is truly atrocious behavior, which undermines the very foundations of our democracy. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, but before we proceed, I must ask, are you sure he's the one?
On second thought, I don't think it's him. What do I do it?
Ah, I see. In that case, it looks like you'll... Of course. Yeah.
This almost does seem like an entirely pointless thing, this accusation system. In Paradise Killer, it's the entire crux of the game. You start off right by the court, and you can just accuse somebody like right off the bat without even trying, and just end the game right there poorly. Oh, or you can go spend like 20 hours investigating and so on, and never being entirely sure if you're done, and like there's always more and more, and whoa, and then you come back and try to unwrap all the stuff you found. But I don't think, like, I'm pretty sure the accusing is pointless here, especially since like I've already seen my encounter with him. Why can't I accuse him? And also, where's the archer? It's not Virgil. It's not Ulpius. Cretia, Decius. Decius is... He specifically is afraid to break the golden rule. Aurelia.
Why do you say that?
Rufius. He's becoming increasingly threatening to Virgil because of his sexuality.
Then you'd better find a way to make him back down, hadn't you? I'm quite sure you're capable of containing that half-wit. Go and do it.
I'll get right on it.
Good. Thank you.
Interesting how fast he decides... As you wish, sir. Who are you talking to? I was talking to this guy. Interesting how there's some that he gets ready to act on, and other ones he's like, you can deal with this. It was obvious in, God, there's so many characters' names. They're not familiar names, so it's hard. In Dooley's case...
Best behavior, I trust.
Oh, this is still happening? Oh, that's who was saying, right, it's this guard was the one that was saying that. All sorts of stuff's happening here. Let's just go up to the thing.
By default.
Actually, I'd like to nominate myself.
There he goes.
If that's all right.
Citizen.
But, with Dooley it made sense because he's literally in prison, so it's not like we can accuse him of anything. Because in this timeline he's still in prison. But I was surprised. But after the first one, that led to me potentially like being able to like act on something with him. I kind of thought that it might be that way most of the time, but then he's like, just deal with that idiot, whatever. And that came as a surprise. Is that who I think it is? Oh, it's Yulia. Where are you going? A dead end, then turning around? Okay. This is where she goes after she gets cured. Is this the upper cistern that I've heard about? Ah. I've found the other way to get to her. Lead resolved heart of gold, yep. That's, I wonder if... I don't know, they fuck it up by having him immediately ruin everything, but I wonder if that's the real reason he was in prison, was because he found out about Scintilla. But also, he forgets things constantly, but he was locked up anyway, just in case. Because he was going around this place, and he even had the key still. Well, this is going to be a big deal. In fact, it's probably the white hallway I'm supposed to warn you about. So, spoilers, the game that I've been playing, I'm going to keep playing it. That's not what sandstone's supposed to do. Or granite or whatever, I don't know. It's a video game resolution. Hi. And you will worship me as though I were a god. Hades, Nurgle, Osiris, Pluto. Nurgle, the fierce one, grant me an audience. Ooh. Is that a good or bad sound? Osiris, Lord of Silence, grant me an audience. Pluto, Father of Riches, grant me an audience. It's okay, so Pluto's correct, not Hades. Oh, because Pluto's the newest one, right? They were in a weird order. They weren't chronological. Oh, Hades. It's the theming of the room. There's Greek. And here's Egyptian. The temple wasn't this big, was it? On the outside? Osiris, Lord of Silence. A bit less obsessed with statues, were they? Nurgle, the fierce one. Yep, that's a pretty white hallway right there. It's aliens. It was always aliens. Oh, I'm in space. Oh, that's got weird. Always hexagons. It's always fucking hexagons. Even when it's aliens, it's hexagons. Hello. I'm on the Matrix Code River. Well, now. Oh. You're the one speaking to me.
And here you are. Allow me to introduce myself. As you have already gathered, I've been known by many names. Nergal to the Sumerians, Osiris to the Egyptians, Hades to the Greeks, and Pluto to the Romans. But the one constant through it all has been my title, God of the Underworld. And I've been watching you with curiosity, mortal, ever since your arrival. You're unlike the others, aren't you? And what is more, you carry a weapon that was never intended for mortals to wield, and you do it so brazenly. But there will be time for your reckoning later. First, as a reward for undoing the desecration of my obelisk, I will allow you to satisfy your curiosity. Ask what you will.
What's your story?
My story is many thousands of years long. You will need to be more specific. What do you wish to know?
It's very funny to me that my dialogue choices make me sound like the NPC. You're a god?
It is a matter of perspective. God is a label I was given by you mortals, not one I gave myself. Your ancestors revered me because to them, my knowledge and technology made me incomprehensibly powerful, just as you might seem so to an insect. But despite all that, there are rules even I must obey.
Why do you look and sound like a man?
My kin and I all adopted this form long ago, so that we might better understand and communicate with your kind. In time, we grew fond of the sensory delights it affords: desire, joy, ecstasy, even rage and sorrow, while an acquired taste can be addictive.
We taught you emotions? Can I see your true form?
No. Long ago, I swore to Persephone that I would remain in this form for as long as we remained among your kind. I must honor that.
Oh, because, yeah, so Hades and Persephone. So we are playing another... I keep playing so many games that have Hades or Charon or whatever the fuck, or both, and so on. What a weird through line I've been having lately. Do I need to make a playlist? Who's the woman on your left?
This is my beloved. Like me, she has been known by many names. Ereshkigal to the Sumerians, Isis to the Egyptians, Persephone to the Greeks, and Proserpina to the Romans. Or perhaps you might know her as the goddess of springtime, the cycle of life and renewal.
Oh.
Your gaze lingers too long.
I'm checking out your wife? Is that what you think is happening? Who's that on your right?
That is my servant. You would have met by the river, though she wears many faces and goes by many names. Kumutubal to the Sumerians, Kirti to the Egyptians, Charon to the Greeks, and Charon to the Romans. Her role is to ferry souls between the mortal world and this one, and to make their transition as seamless as possible. For that, she earned herself the infamous, if erroneous, moniker, the Ferryman. You will talk more later. For now, ask your questions.
Why is she doing spooky idol animation? Let's talk about something else.
As you wish.
What is this place?
It has come to be known simply as the Underworld, and it exists because of a wager I made long ago.
Is the wager this golden rule simulation that eventually someone will win or lose and you bet one way or the other? Like whether or not someone will ever succeed? Are you hoping someone succeeds? Because you're putting a lot of work in here if you're betting against humanity. What was the wager you made?
That is a long story. One that began over 3,000 years ago and continues to this day. You see, long ago, my kin and I set out from our home on Elysium to search for other forms of life among the stars. We discovered your planet and witnessed your kind evolving from primates into something lawless and barbaric. You all but destroyed yourselves, your 2 short lives being extinguished by violence and ignorance and disease. Yet Proserpina saw raw potential in you, and persuaded the rest of us it would be squandered without our intervention and stewardship. So we revealed ourselves to your people in a place called Sumer. We offered guidance in agriculture, toolcraft, and law, and you called us gods. For a time you flourished, but soon you were too many for us to oversee. And as you spread from that cradle of civilization, we saw something disturbing. We had sown the seeds of dependency and confusion, and soon you returned to your old ways of violence and ignorance, this time in our name. My kin had seen enough and gave up on your kind, condemning you as barbaric and chaotic, scarcely more than animals. We began preparations to return to Elysium, our home world, a utopia unspoilt by conflict and unimaginable in its beauty. But my Proserpina could not bear to abandon your kind without guidance, and knowing it would force the rest of us to leave her behind, she made an extraordinary sacrifice. She gave up her immortality to descend permanently to the ranks of humankind. And so she began her inescapable trajectory toward death. Horrified, I acted swiftly. I placed her in suspended animation in a deep frozen sleep to prevent age and sickness from claiming her. And then I pleaded with Proserpina's father, who the Romans called Jupiter, to bring her with us to Elysium. It was and is my hope that once there, we might one day learn to undo what she has done to herself. But he refused. I did everything I could to persuade him, but he would not relent. He would rigidly uphold his final pronouncement. Humans were unworthy of ascension to Elysium, and no exceptions would be made. But seeing that I was aggrieved, he proposed a wager, the terms of which were as follows. If even one human city could prove itself capable of living without sin for a single year, then Proserpina and all of humanity would be permitted to join us in Elysium. My part would be to remain behind, the last of my kind, to watch over you without interfering, and to sit in silent judgment. And so my reward has been to languish here, enduring a 3,000-year winter, waiting for the day your kind proves itself worthy of her faith in you, so that I might take her with me to Elysium and unthaw my goddess of springtime. And here I am, after all this time, still waiting.
Isn't having somebody in a time loop kind of unfair to that challenge? I feel like we're cheating, but also maybe you don't even know that, because like, I don't have any reason to think you're omniscient. I think that it's this is Persephone's magic. This is the trick she's doing, so she's basically cheating. Who are your kin?
There were also gods who, like me, have been known by many names, but perhaps you knew them by their Roman names. Our leader, Jupiter, as well as Neptune, Saturn, Juno, Minerva, Mars, Venus, Apollo, Diana, Vulcan, Vesta, Ceres, and of course, my beloved Proserpina.
Who built the city?
As the first wave of your kind arrived from Sumer, I had them build a city in their own fashion, so that they might be comfortable and recreate their lives here. I had them build the entrance as a vertical shaft leading to baths to cleanse them of the sins of their former lives and to prevent escape. I watched wave after wave of Sumerians arrive, and as their civilization declined over the centuries, they were replaced by Egyptians. Of course, believing themselves to be the superior civilization, the Egyptians promptly built over what had been built before and made all the same mistakes. After another 1,000 years, the Greeks began to arrive, and then the Romans, and they all did the same thing. They built upon the underworlds of their predecessors, renamed their gods, and ensured their foundations were forgotten.
Is the vertical trap shaft that necessary if this is already the underworld and they're already dead or something? Like, what even happens if you do leave? Like, what is like 50 feet outside the cave? Like, is it the end of the simulation, or is it actually a place in the real world? How did you decide who comes here?
To ensure the wager was fair, it was important that my subjects were chosen at random. To this end, I had my servant distribute 1,000 tokens fashioned from silver, a rare element at the time, across all of Sumer. Whoever died while in possession of one of them would be located by my servant and ferried to this place, with no memory of how they arrived. As the tokens were discovered, they were traded, smelted, and fashioned into trinkets, and eventually coins, spreading to Egypt like seeds on the wind. Later, when they spread to Greece, they would come to be known as Charon's obol, or as coins for the ferryman. Some placed coins in the mouths of their dead, hoping they would awaken here, though they had no way of knowing which coins were fashioned from the original tokens. In fact, almost all of the tokens are accounted for, only 2 remain. And so after this wave destroys itself, as it is destined to do, your kind will have squandered the last of its potential to ascend beyond this rock, and Persepolis along with it.
Well, I have a few questions, like how did they become known as Charon's obol if nobody can return from the dead? Like, beforehand, it was just a belief system that's like just kind of invented by people, so I just kind of go with it. But you're trying to argue there's a cause and effect here, where you actually Charon's real and the coins work and so on. But no one comes here and then leaves, so how would anyone know about this place or Charon? And so how this doesn't actually work as an explanation for why people know about Hades, the underworld, or Charon in the real life of this place, which is kind of necessary for the belief system and so on to like all loop the soul around and whatnot. Also, I realized that my previous question, when I was like what is outside of that cave or whatever, it's like, yeah, no, it's not on the planet because it's on the ship. This ship just has like some kind of big dome place or something that is like a fake world for a bit. That's mostly just a place where people fall in that hole and then hang out in that city, which is all on this ship. So it's definitely not a way out because we're in space. A way out would go very poorly. How did humans learn about the underworld?
It is a regrettable story. One of the first men who came to this place was a king of Sumer and a troublemaker. To be rid of him, I returned him to his people on the condition that my servant erased his memories of this place. But the erasure did not take completely, and he told stories of this place as if describing memories of a dream. His tales were committed to writing, which came to be known as the Epic of Gilgamesh, and his words were twisted and distorted over generations. Later, the Egyptians would adapt Sumer's stories of the underworld, making them wildly intricate and labyrinthine. Their Book of the Dead and Book of Gates bore less and less resemblance to this place in their priests' pursuit of profit. Then, when the Greeks began to arrive, they proved far more cunning, and in a series of incidents that will not be repeated, 5 of them escaped. A warrior named Heracles, 2 kings named Sisyphus and Theseus, a poet named Orpheus, and a Trojan named Aeneas. They each told embellished tales of this place, how to get here, and how to escape. And so from Sumer to Egypt, Greece to Rome, Your kind has always told each other stories about this place, though each story contained only a seed of truth.
There we go, because it's the idea that all of those legends happened at some point. Let's talk about something else.
Of course.
Are you responsible for the Golden Rule?
That is merely the name your people have given to it, but yes, it is my doing.
Why turn people into gold?
That is a story dating back to the very first wave. After the Sumerians finished building their city, the self-declared ruler threw a banquet to celebrate. Now this man was unmarried, and many women were vying to become his wife, a prestigious position of power and influence in a new world. Of all the women, 2 were particularly ambitious. Both were beautiful, and both arrived at the banquet wearing eye-catching dresses and painted faces, their hair woven in elaborate fashion. The first woman, recognizing that she would require an advantage to win the ruler's affection, draped herself in jewelry, ornate necklaces, bracelets, and rings fashioned from gold. Seeing this ostentatious display, the second woman grew envious, for she had no such jewelry at her disposal. She prayed aloud to any gods that would listen to cover her in gold, and when her prayer went unanswered, she took matters into her own hands. While the others indulged at the banquet, the second woman summoned the first for a discussion in a quiet place. She checked that nobody was watching, and pushed her rival from the top of the ziggurat, where she broke her neck on the rocks below. But I was watching, and I decided to answer her prayer. I took the golden bow left behind by Diana, and I shot that woman in the heart, covering her from head to toe in a layer of molten gold. And I left her to stand there, that she might serve as a grim reminder of what befalls those who sin in my domain. But that was not enough, for the entire city was tainted by her sin, and the wager could no longer be won. So I had no choice but to wipe the slate clean. I gilded them all to make way for a new wave, and began the wager again. And to this day, each of them, and all who came after, line the halls of this city, inanimate but conscious, suspended in time with only their sight and hearing preserved, so they may bear witness to and lament the folly of your kind for eternity, as silent golden sentinels.
So are the archers that shoot everybody just golems or something? Or are they also just angry old attendees, tenants? There we go. You really just picked a theme and stuck with it, huh? So you're responsible for destroying all these lives.
I give your kind a second chance at life, as well as ample warning about my law. And when you disobey, and you always disobey, you force my hand, bringing terrible suffering upon yourselves. And so you ask if I am the one destroying your lives. And I say, no, you destroy yourselves. I am merely the means by which you do it.
Where do these golden bows come from?
When my kin departed, they left behind many relics which I inherited. A consolation prize of sorts. The golden bow originally belonged to one of my kin, who the Romans called Diana. As my collection of golden statues grew, I chose the most ferocious among them, and equipped them each with a duplicate of her bow, and tasked them with hunting down the Forsaken at my behest. They became known simply as Furies.
What do you consider a sin?
I've always considered that the cornerstone of morality is the ability to determine right from wrong on one's own. No attempt to lay out rules like your Code of Hammurabi or your 12 Tables of the Roman Republic can ever cover all possible scenarios. This should come as no surprise to you, since the core principle has been expressed in many forms by many of your civilizations. The Egyptians made a rudimentary attempt with do to the doer to make him do. The Greeks refined it with avoid doing what you would blame others for doing. The Roman Stoics added, treat your inferior as you would wish your superior to treat you. Even the so-called cultists hiding among you often say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It is the simplest of concepts, and each one of you is born with the faculties required to apply it to any situation. Yet none of the peoples who expressed this rule were able to uphold it. Curious, is it not?
It doesn't seem like you've been upholding it either.
Enough. You clearly know nothing.
That went about as well as you'd expect. Yeah, how do you know when people sin?
I'm able to commune with all of the statues in the city. Their ears are my ears, and their eyes are my eyes.
So you can't see... So if there's no statues nearby, then boom, like it's not a sin, basically. That's the standard here. So people that are hidden away really are safe at this point. But like, once again, like, yeah, the golden rule has not been clarified really, because people are doing all sorts of stuff that you should not do that you would not do unto yourself. And guess what? It's not triggering the golden rule. In fact, I did the same loophole, and I was like, this is fine, and everything's working out great. Is Proserpina connected to the statues in some way?
If she was still conscious, I suppose she could, but she's not. Why do you ask?
Because it didn't let me do anything else. No reason.
Then what an odd question.
I knew not to ask it, but then they made me. I've seen some terrible things here that you don't consider a sin. How could you let them happen?
Do you plan to speak in sweeping generalizations, or are you going to give me an example?
Suicide.
I've seen no such thing, but in any case, taking one's own life is a self-directed act. It is not one that is done to others, however they may be affected by it. Therefore, it cannot be said that one who commits suicide has done anything unto others.
That seems like an extremely literal interpretation of the rule.
Applying this rule always requires us to interpret the meaning of the words. The literal interpretation helps to minimize the ambiguities of your primitive language.
If our language is full of ambiguity, doesn't that make the rule inherently subjective and unreliable?
Supposing you're right, then my law has been broken, and I should turn you all to gold immediately. Is that what you want?
I feel like this is an unfair argument to have. Of course not, never mind.
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I have overlooked?
Experiments on the golden statues?
The midwife in the palace, yes. How is that inconsistent with the rule?
She wouldn't want to be experimented upon if she was gilded.
The rule is do unto others, meaning other people. Those statues are something else now. Bloodless shadows, mere shapes of their former selves. They are forsaken. What happens to them is no concern of mine.
I see.
Now tell me, what other sins do you believe I have overlooked?
Price gouging for life-saving medicine.
The merchant. How is that inconsistent with the rule I've outlined?
He wouldn't want someone else to demand an outrageous price for the medicine he needs if he was dying.
I disagree. Having watched this merchant, that is precisely what he would expect from others, and he would be quite capable of paying the price anyway.
You can't know what he would expect, you're just speculating.
Applying this rule always requires speculation to some degree. It requires us to ask what another person would want if they found themselves in another situation.
Doesn't that make it inherently subjective and unreliable?
Not if we're wise enough to know the mind of man.
And you think you know the minds of other people?
Supposing you're right, then my law has been broken. I should turn you all to gold immediately. Is that what you want?
He essentially cheats. A scam.
Ah, the tavern keeper, yes. How is that inconsistent with the rule?
She wouldn't want someone else to sell her hemlock if she thought she was buying a means of escape.
I disagree. Having watched that tavern keeper, that is precisely what she would expect from others. She would view it as a game, one she intends to win.
So all scammers, because they're crooked, then none of their crooked things they do are crimes because they also think other people are crooked. Like, huh? You can't know what she would expect, you're just speculating.
Applying this rule always requires... Yeah. Now tell...
Debt bondage.
You speak of the moneylender. How is that inconsistent with the rule?
He wouldn't want to be trapped in a 30-year labor contract because of a loan.
And he would never have signed a contract pledging his labor for 30 years. All he did was enforce the terms of a contract signed voluntarily by others.
Oh my god, Hades sucks so much. He's the worst. The whole concept of debt bondage, like slavery, is unethical. It's illegal under the international law where I'm from.
Ignoring your irritating sense of moral superiority. This is interesting. I'm curious, how do people escape poverty where you're from?
I feel like you need to zoom out a little bit and see the larger problem and not how do people escape poverty, but the reason poverty exists. But okay. It's customary to take out a loan to buy a house, and in some places to pay for an education.
I see. And how long might it take such a person to repay their debt?
It depends. Typically decades, sometimes their entire life.
I fail to see how your system of loans is significantly different to a debt bondsman signing over his labor for 30 years.
It is not the same thing.
Supposing you're right, then my law has been broken, and I should turn you all to gold immediately. Now
he's such a douchebag. It's no wonder people say the gods are cruel. Just look at how unreliable and subjective your moral code is. You're no better at judging right from wrong than any human.
Do you honestly think you could do better?
Oh. Wow. No, but that's my point. Nobody's grasp of right and wrong is so perfect that they can be trusted with all this power. You've become a tyrant.
I should strike you down for that.
What a great counter-argument you've had there. And if you did, you'd be proving my point.
Now, did you have any other questions before your reckoning?
Okay. Let's talk about something else.
Very well.
That's it?
Good. Then now it is time for your reckoning. Only, it seems, something is wrong. It has long been within my power to see into the hearts of mortals and weigh their deeds in life. But when I peer into you, I see only a blank slate, as if you did not exist until you appeared in this city. How is this possible? Charon, where did you find this one?
I do not remember ferrying you. How did you come here?
Maybe you're getting forgetful in your old age.
You would have us believe that my servant merely forgot bringing you here.
I misspoke. I arrive here in about 2,000 years.
If that is true, then I sense the intervention of someone powerful.
How did you come to be in this time, mortal? Who brought you here?
We cannot know.
I was hoping you could tell me.
I do not know. My kin departed long ago, and Proserpine has slumbered for 3,000 years.
I guess that means you don't know everything that goes on here.
Tread lightly, mortal. Enough of this. It seems I will need to put your reckoning on hold for now. But answer this. Why have you come here? What is it you seek?
Just want to see my heart weighed against a feather and see how it turns out. I'd like you to put an end to the golden rule.
Your hubris is amusing, so I will allow you to make your case. But I warn you, if you anger me or waste my time with lies or wrong-headed arguments, you face death here. So, tell me, why should I put an end to the so-called Golden Rule?
The Golden Rule is corrupting the city and ensuring you'll never win the wager.
How so? And be specific. You have made a grave allegation, and I expect you to back it up.
Decius is price gouging for life-saving medicine because he knows nobody can take it by force.
True. I have witnessed him doing that.
Malleolus has trapped people in debt bondage by convincing them that rebelling would break your law.
His cruelty does seem to grow greater by the day.
Aurelia is exploiting people's desperation to escape by selling them hemlock.
I admit, I have grown disturbed watching her.
Rufius has become so paranoid he's jumping at shadows like Virgil's sexuality.
He is a volatile and confused fellow, that one. If you're right, my involvement has corrupted the very thing I sought to observe impartially. But if I were to accept that, are you telling me these humans could coexist peacefully, without theft or violence, without my law?
It's a back and forth thing. It sounds a little bit too much like being like, yay, police and whatnot, but this society has police anyway for some reason. But like, people need the ability to like rise up against like the bondage they were in. No, but humans need to be able to use force in exceptional circumstances to correct their societies.
How so?
We use violence to discourage bad behavior, to neutralize criminals and overthrow tyrants.
And how is that working for you?
Where I'm from, 2,000 years in the future, it's working pretty well. On average, life expectancies are climbing and crime rates are declining.
So you say, and yet your world is still imperfect.
Our world will always be imperfect, but the kind of force required to create a utopia will inevitably result in tyranny.
You have spoken eloquently, and yet, if what you say is true, it follows that my wager was fatally flawed from the beginning. But that would mean Jupiter, Proserpina's father, who knew more about you than anyone, proposed a wager I could never win. Why would he do that?
Oh, I got news for you about the nature of your guys and how you're just humans, basically. Oh, that was incredibly naive, dude. Perhaps he felt threatened by you and didn't want a potential challenger in Elysium.
Perhaps. But if that was so, surely I would have sensed his deception. How could I have been so blind for so long?
Perhaps you were blinded by your love for Proserpina. It's so much more. It's so much harder than Persephone. Proserpina? It's very human.
Your words sting, immortal. But perhaps it is what I deserve. As difficult as this is to admit, I have suspected as much for a long time now. And I cannot deny it any longer. I've been so fixated on taking my beloved to Elysium that every time one of you sinned, it wore away my hope of being with her again. In time, I began to despise your kind for making her believe that you could ever be better than you are. But my rage was not born of malice. Quite the opposite. Everything I have done, I did because I loved her. Who knew this empathy of yours, which you celebrate so much, could have such a dark underside? This has gone on too long. It is time for me to let go of this form, of her, of all of you. But know this, if I abandon the wager and leave for Elysium, neither she nor your kind may ever ascend.
Why can't we go to Elysium?
Because doing so would violate the rules of my sacred agreement with Jupiter, and you would receive a hostile reception. The best I can do is return you to the land of the living. I will have Charon make arrangements to ferry the others. But as for you, be aware you will be separated from the rest.
Why?
Once this exodus begins, the events that brought you to this moment will never have taken place, and you will have created a paradox. What will become of you is difficult to predict, but that is the risk you have taken by interfering in the natural flow of time. Now, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Farewell, mortal.
Is this the true ending or the almost true ending? What's going on here? That spoiler gate is so late in the game. I would be so annoyed if the series stopped there, and it's like, okay, now buy the game and replay everything you saw so you can see the last 20 minutes of it.
Oh. Hi there. Gave me a bit of a fright. Thought I was in here alone. I'm Al.
Al Worth, I came in here to find you.
Well, here I am. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I'm Yogg. I was hoping you'd know who I am.
Know who you are? I barely remember how I got here myself. Oh, did that lady in the forest send you in here after me? I guess I lost track of time, learning about the history of this place, and it is extraordinary. I'm fairly certain you and I are the first people to set foot in this city for about 2,000 years. Fortunately for us, the last person in here was a Roman man named Galerius, who inscribed an account into a tablet. Apparently, there was a community of 20-something people trapped in here, and living in fear of a curse they called the Golden Rule. They believed that if even one person sinned, an unknown god would cast them all into gold, like the 1,000 people who'd lived here before them. Then, one day, just as Galerius had finished praying for a good harvest at the shrine of Proserpina, an oracle appeared and told him how to solve the ills of the city, like saving the life of a dying woman, preventing the suicide of a man in debt bondage, freeing a falsely accused prisoner, foiling an assassination attempt, and so on. Meanwhile, the oracle walked up to the temple of the mysterious god, this one right here, and demanded an audience. And the doors just opened up to him. Nobody knows what went on in there, but Galerius wrote the oracle must have been more persuasive than Odysseus, because the next thing he knew, the ground shook and the voice of that god rang out over the city. The many have suffered long enough. Unfortunately, Galerius' account just sort of stops after that, leaving a lot of questions unanswered. What became of him and the other people who lived here? What happened to all the golden statues? And did this mysterious oracle single-handedly undo the curse that had terrorized people for hundreds of years?
Oh, because we're still on the ship. So he got sent back to Earth, but his records stay here because the ship's just sitting here for so long. Why is the ship still here though? 2,000 years in the future, if the whole thing's been called off. Actually, that was me.
What? Oh, I see. For a moment there, I thought you were serious. Anyway, I think I found a way out through the aqueduct that brought water into the city. Follow me.
I'm right behind you. Call me Al. Is he hammering it away again? Where'd you even find planks around here?
I'm gonna pause here for a moment and make sure nobody else has ever lured into this temple.
Alright. Good idea.
You go on ahead. I'll be there soon.
Didn't he say we were trapped last time? But this time he just like finds a way out, which is I think what happened the first time too. But I thought when I got the worst ending, he was just like, ah, we're trapped, damn. But it seems to he ultimately just finds a hole each time, and we just wander out of here. It's so colorful out here. Because it's not the end of the day this time.
You're back, but you're alone. Does that mean you didn't find Al?
I found him. He'll be here in a minute.
Oh, what a relief. Thank you so much. Why don't you tell me?
I discovered you're not who you said you were. I remember meeting you 2,000 years ago.
Ah, I see. I thought you might. Well, now you know. I suppose you have questions.
These parts really need like a skip old dialogue option or something. Who are you really?
You can just call me Charon, if you like. I do not enjoy that most people find comfort. That you died of my...
How did I die?
Most souls would rather not ask.
I already did this, yeah. I want to know. Pluto said the coins Al and I had were the last in existence. What does that mean for you?
It means I am now bereft of purpose. There is nobody else to ferry here. Nobody to keep you company. After 5,000 years, the underworld has finally run its course.
It already stopped 3,000 years ago, or 2,000 years ago. Like, you spent 2/5 of the whole duration of the underworld just waiting for the two of us to show up, to be sent to what was at the time an empty underworld, because I don't think you know about Proserpina's time travel thing. What's so special about these coins?
Perhaps you have heard the tales of the Greeks and Romans bearing their... Well, those... A long time ago, my...
Pluto mentioned that my coin was the last in existence. Was I mean, okay. Can you return us to the land of the living?
I see no point in keeping you here. But I have to ask one thing. That you keep this to yourself.
Look! Here comes Al now. Al! It's so good to see you. You were gone so long I thought I'd never see you again.
Kinda lost track of time in there. You wouldn't believe what we found. The ruins of a long-forgotten city. And there was a tablet describing an oracle who confronted a god and undid an ancient curse.
Sounds like quite a story, and I look forward to hearing all about it. But you two look exhausted. Why don't you hop in my boat and rest while I ferry you back to civilization?
Sounds good to me.
And you? Are you ready to go home?
Alright, Charon. Ferry us home.